Welcome to the channel, and today we're going to be returning to Batman Arkham Knight. Definitely a good time to do so, as I got a taste of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and I definitely could realize that that game was definitely not going to be for me. It's been an entire decade since its original release. Absolutely crazy how the time has flew by, but after playing around in the configuration INI files, I was able to unlock the FPS over 60, and thanks to the courtesy of the 7900 GRE and my Intel chip 14th gen 14700KF, I'm able to play Bruce's last bout in 4K and 144 frames per second. Even though Nvidia is trying to hold me back, as clearly Nvidia and WB were big chums for the making of this game. Yeah, definitely annoying, but as you can see, I've been able to max out the settings, excluding these few ones such as the smoke. But the ones that did stay are definitely immaculate, and putting my first experience on this game on the PS4 quite to some shame. Like, bro, look at the water that is coming off Batman's cape. Look at this nigga's cape, like, look at this guy's cape. Dude, this is crazy. The cape is flapping, bro. That's so cool, man. It's crazy. This game is truly so gorgeous. Now, one thing I definitely do not miss is the excessive amount of tank combat that was added to this game, and the many tank puzzles that are inputted into the title. When you're just getting into the groove of the great and fluid gameplay of Batman in this final game, you're now forced and pushed back into playing as a damn tank. Now, this is something that I find quite odd, considering I have quite a brand new system, but I've experienced a number of performance hitches and performance issues. Perhaps this is related to me unlocking the frame rate through the INI files, but I've experienced a few issues. Now, of course, I do understand and definitely do remember, as I definitely watched these angry runs from Angry Joe, but Batman Arkham Knight had a very disastrous PC launch, and from what I can see, there are definitely still some issues today. Very weird stuttering, fidgeting of some clothes on hairs and characters. Now, that could be because I unlocked the frame rate, but definitely we experienced some weird massive frame drops from 120 or 144 down to 80 out of nowhere, and it seems strange because some intensive areas will run at a higher frame rate, but other areas, when you're just, for example, traversing the open world or doing something inconsequential, you're going to experience some very weird and significant frame drops. Now, the biggest one that I do have to point out that just completely popped out to me is the lack of optimization in this game, particularly pertaining to the VRAM. Now, back in around when this game came out, it was about 2015. People only had 4 gigabytes of VRAM on their GPUs, 6, 8, maybe if you were a big baller, got the flagship at the time. But even then, the VRAM that Batman Arkham Knight uses is definitely quite excessive from what I can see. Now, I completely understand that Arkham Knight is actually really good looking, man. Just look at it, man. Like, even when you're gliding around the city, everything looks really good, and it holds up ridiculously well, even in today's standard. But the VRAM usage for a game released in 2015 is quite outstanding, even at 4K resolution. There are moments where I've seen the VRAM usage going up to 11 gigabytes. How in the world did guys with 4 gigabyte VRAM GPUs survive back in 2015? Like, my goodness, man. It's hard for me to even because the frame rate jumps are really quite erratic, but I would say the average is around about 123 frames per second. But thanks to my variable refresh rate monitor, I definitely don't feel these significant drops much at all. When you're over 100 frames per second, the drops really aren't that noticeable. Now, performance issues aside, what about the actual content? How does it feel to come back to this title, and does it still hold up? Absolutely, the content is still top tier, excluding the tank combat and the tank puzzles. Batman Arkham Knight is a phenomenal game. Now, the thing is, it plays smooth, it plays alright. I think due to the upgraded hardware, I'm able to just brute force my way through whatever technical issues that Batman Arkham Knight still has. Yeah, I'm definitely going from 1080p 30 FPS to 4K 144 frames per second is definitely significant. If you've never played one of the Arkham games before, this is definitely the time to do so. You'll be able to get it for a very low price. And dude, I definitely recommend you start with Arkham City, because that is an absolute gaming classic with a sensational narrative. Arkham City has perfected everything. That the gameplay is good enough, it's great, and the story is very memorable and a very strong one. I definitely would recommend you go ahead and try those games if you haven't yet. If maybe Spider-Man isn't hitting the spot, hey, maybe it's time to go back to Arkham Knight if you've got a PC. Yeah. Thank you for joining me for another video. My name is Explicit Sage. Thank you. I'll see you on the next one.